Coming up next, an interview about several songs that shook radio in different parts of the world. Man, the first one was a hit in the UK, and it came from an out-of-tune instrument that was written as a science fiction story about the future, and one that seemed really far-fetched in the late 70s, but one that is a reality now. It's about android hookers. Back then, it sold 1 million copies, and then the second song, it was a hit in the middle of soft rockers like Christopher Cross and Olivia Newton John. It sounded like it was 100 years ahead of its time. It was strange, it was epic, and it came from an incident of highway anger. The singer cut someone off in traffic and almost got pummeled because of it. It became his only hit in America, even though he had many other brilliant hits. He got so sick of it, he resented it. He began to detest it. Then years later, another legend who had been inspired by him made him realize he was being a huge baby, and he was grateful for that. Coming up, a great interview with a legend, coming up next. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember creating greeting cards on Print Shop back in the day when computers were young, you're going to dig this channel. Nostalgia all the time. Make sure that you subscribe below right now, click the bell, all that stuff. It's the stories from the legends. So it's time for another edition of our series, Bottle Lightning. This is where we celebrate a song or an album that was king for a day or for many days. Here we honor artists and bands that rocketed up the charts, but for reasons sometimes unknown, they never had another big hit. Called by many as one-hit wonders, we celebrate them instead as lightning in a bottle. Today, we discuss a truly monumental song with a pioneering artist who should have had so many hits. It's actually something I've contemplated many times in my life. Gary Numan is a genius. So why did he only have one hit? I mean, it makes no sense. I think it maybe was that he was too far ahead of his time. He was never following trends. He was creating the blueprint that several genres followed thereafter. I mean, his stuff is so ethereal, so cool, especially Cars, his number 9 hit from 1980. It was released in 1979, and it seemed to be from another planet entirely. It was so out of place with the light, smooth, and easy sounds of 79 and 80 pop radio. Some called a lot of this music yacht rock. And if Christopher Cross and Michael McDonald's Doobie Brothers were what some were listening to while chilling on their yachts, then Gary Numan was what one might listen to on a flying saucer. I mean, it was strange, it was compelling and atmospheric. And the song was written and recorded in just a half hour after an incident of road rage. I'll let Gary tell you the rest in our exclusive interview coming up next. Now, as we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. At Zenni.com, you can choose from the latest frames and styles, whether you wear prescriptions, non-prescription glasses, or even sunglasses. And you can add amazing features like blue blocks to protect your eyes from digital blue light. Take a look at Zenni.com. Here's Gary with Cars. The automobile song, right, has always been big in rock and roll. But this isn't your typical Beach Boys, I Get Around car song.
No.
It's not a joyride. It was really this was like a cocoon,
yes.
The way you wrote it. A getaway or like a tank to get away from the real world. Yeah. Tell me about that.
I was driving along and some people in front obviously really upset with me. So I've always assumed I must have done something and not realised, back up the road somewhere and upset them in some way. Anyway, they got out of their car and they're screaming and shouting at me, and then they're trying to open my door, and I'm locking my doors, stay in the car. And then they're trying to break them in ears. It's all in traffic, right in front of hundreds of
road
people.
rage.
Yeah. It's serious, And I thought, there's no way I'm getting out of this. I'm going to get hammered. Anyway, I ended up driving up onto the pavement, actually, drove along the pavement, sort of people leaping out of the way a little bit, and off the end of that and away. And so that's the experience that it come from. And it made me realize, again, part of my Asperger's and being uncomfortable around people, that the car for me was like a little mini tank for the civilian. When you're in it, you're separate from the world. You're safe. You can lock yourself in. You can drive away. You can get away from problems. It's just a fantastically comforting thing, and that's where the song came from. But the song itself, I actually don't know how many songs I've written. 300, 400 on album. I've written thousands more than that, but actually released.
They've been released,
and only 2 of them are written on bass guitar. Cars is one of them. So this is kind of electronic classic, as it were, was written on bass guitar, not even on a keyboard. So, but it was really quick. I'd been to London to buy this bass guitar, I think called a Shergold modulator, which I still have, and got home, and it was the very first thing I played. I picked it up at the case, put it on my lap, and I went do 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 do, and I thought, well, that sounds all right. And then do 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 do, and the second thing I played was that. I mean, it wrote itself. It was the whole music, everything, all the parts, the groove parts at least, not the strings that came later, and the structure of it, 10 minutes at the most. And the lyric was, I don't know, 20 minutes, and the whole thing was done in half an hour. It took a bit longer to record it and the other bits, but that was like a day or something.
I love it.
It's really quick.
Well, and the bass line, it follows exactly what you're seeing in the melody line.
Yeah.
That's a rare thing in music. Such a distinct sound, that bass, to have it led by that.
I did a couple of albums later. Did one called Dance and one called Assassin, 81 and 82. And they both had the bass guitar as a lead melody instrument rather than just underpinning underneath it. The 82 album, I Assassin especially, had a bass player on that called Pino Palladino. Still around, he's amazing. And his playing was so special that I thought you didn't want it rumbling away in the background. It needed to be much more prominent. So that gave those albums a different slant.
And I think what works really well is the simplicity of it.
Yeah. But
also, again, the way that you approach it from Cars. I mean, if you think about like Born to Be Wild, I Get Around, some of these songs that they wrote about being out on the road, or Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen. They're always about the car being the escape and look what I was talked about. But Cars was like this really, it was kind of scary in a way. There was a real atmosphere to it.
You come up with a groove that works really, really well. You've got a subject matter which is slightly unusual, and you want to try and find music that will work with that. So the layers that you put onto the groove itself are quite important. So I wanted it to be sort of exciting and have pace the way that you would with a car. But beyond that, I didn't think that much about it. There's a friend of mine who's a really, really famous record producer now. And we had a conversation a few years ago. He was talking about cars and saying that the way it started, where it just holds just one note, this high string. He was saying that was genius. That he said, who would have thought to just hold? So I had to confess that I was not genius at all. I actually pressed the key down to start and then couldn't think what to do. So I just left it.
So you just left it?
Yeah, so just until I could think, same note. I know that that run wasn't actually meant to be a line. That was just me giving up.
Wow.
I thought, that works. So I go back, and I think sometimes the word genius is handed out way too quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's not genius. It's an accident.
It's a happy accident.
Yeah. But
the wobbly part, when you hear that come on the radio, you always know what the song is. And then the drum part. I love how the drum part comes in, and then it's the synth that you're talking about. You stop singing and you go into that near, 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 near for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, that closes out the song. That's a long time to be an instrumental.
Yeah, it's only vocal for I think the first 60 seconds, and then it's instrumental after that.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare to do on television. You sing and you got nothing to do for another 2 minutes. Just stand there and try to look interesting.
I want to ask you about the video really quick, because that's another one. Did you know, because this was before MTV when you had done this, did you see that things were maybe going to go that way?
Yeah, oh, massively, yeah. The use of video and being able to control the visual aspect of what people saw, again, was a reaction in a way, or something I learned from Top of the Pops. You know, the Top of the Pops was the one program in Britain that launched everybody.
Good evening, welcome to Top of the Pops.
A quarter of the country watched it.
Oh yeah.
And on the influence, if you like, of British music around the world is huge. Was more so then even. So that one program was incredibly important, but you were kind of at the mercy of the people there. You know, when I did Our Friends Electric the first time, I was surprised at how agreeable they were to some of the changes I wanted to make. I didn't want any coloured lights, for example. I said, look, everyone, I've been watching your program for years, and you just have loads of lights all flashing on all the time. I said, I just don't want white light, just white. I don't want it coming from below me. I want it coming up. So it's all angles and silhouettes and things like that. And they agreed to it. I thought they'd just tell me to shut up, you know. So, you know, you just, a couple of little things, but it made you stand out. I was still aware of how you were tied to what the set that they gave you, the angles that they gave, the limitations of that particular show were obvious. And I wanted to try to find things that would be what I wanted. Look the way I wanted to look, the angles that I wanted to be seen, the lighting that I wanted.
Because your music plays individual so much.
Yeah.
Very cinematic and atmospheric. It's interesting with Cars, the video, because it came before MTV, but yet when they talk about the birth of MTV, they always show that video or that song as part of that. You look at the top 10 songs of 1980 in America, even though Cars went to number 9, it was the 12th biggest song of the year because it spent so much time on the charts. But Cars was number 1 in Canada, number 1 in the UK, top 10 in Australia, Ireland. It was massive. You look at the top 10 charts in 1980, you got like Kenny Rogers, and you've got Captain and Tennille, and you've got Olivia Newton John. I'm not taking anything away from those artists, but that was the prelude to New Wave. The only thing that is even within striking distance is Blondie Call Me, and that's still a pretty pop song. Cars was just like revolutionary. Were you surprised it was a hit?
Cars, no. And I don't mean to be big-headed,
Okay.
but Our Friends Electric was on before it, and that'd been number 1 for 4 weeks. So then you think you've probably got a pretty good shot with Cars.
The other thing is it's recharted a couple of times as well, you know, in subsequent decades. But the covers for that, Fear Factory, Cool G Rap and DJ Polo, Courtney Love, Hole, they've done it a couple of times. They do it live, Cars.
Did they? I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
Also, Beavis and Butthead and Family Guy,
Get some ice cream in his car. Oh, you're a poor sport.
The Muppets, Simpsons,
Here in my car, I am holding a flood.
and the ads on Nissan and Oldsmobile. And then my favorite is when you did the Die Hard batteries.
Yeah, that was great.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool.
What do you think when it's used in all these things? I mean, that must just give you a little bit of a rush when it's used in TV and movie and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's busier now in terms of sinks and so on. I got a big one yesterday morning, funny enough. It's busier now than it was when it came out. For a long time, I tried to distance myself from it, and our friends Electric actually, because they felt as if they became an ankle chain or a cloud over you that you couldn't get out from under this, what they had done. And so I was, and it is pretty childish really, because most people would give their mum away to have written something that was that successful. But I didn't have a good relationship with it, and I started to resent it a lot. You know, you go on radio and they play Cars when you arrived and Our Friends Electric when you left, and not play the thing you'd gone there to talk about, the new stuff. And it just felt as if it was becoming a barrier to moving forward, and I'm absolutely obsessed about keep moving. I genuinely believe that you should earn longevity. Yeah. You shouldn't be given it because you wrote something good in 1979. You should earn it every single year. It was particularly upsetting to me to feel tied to an era that you've moved along away from decades
almost
before.
40 years.
Yeah. But then I did a thing in 2009 with 9 Inch Nails in London. I was waiting to go on. They were doing O2 Arena, this huge place, and Trent had invited me along to sing metal. When we got there, he said, "Oh, we do Cars as well." Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, God. Not happy. But I tried to talk him out of it, but he wouldn't have it. So we're going to do metal and Cars. But when he introduced me, I'm waiting at the side of the stage to go on. I'm pretty nervous, actually. And he started to talk about Cars, the Pleasure Principle album specifically that it came from. And he was saying all this stuff about how important it was and how what I was doing then shaped the direction that he took 9 Inch Nails in, and all this stuff I hadn't heard, and it was amazing to hear. You know, imagine that I think he's a genius.
Oh yeah.
You got someone like that saying all this stuff in front of 20,000 people, whatever it was, and I'm going, whoa, that's unbelievable. You know, and I remember thinking, how childish have I been? You know, if he thinks that about that stuff, you know, with all of his talent and all what he's done for music, you know, how babyish have I been to be sort of trying to keep it at arm's length and ignore it?
I mean, it's this song that's transcended generations. This classic song. We're talking about you kicked open doors that now people are walking through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's jump into Our Friends Electric, because that's another song that dystopian, what we were just talking about. This is the song that really kind of caught the attention of your peers, your contemporaries, everybody out there. And it was a #1 song in the UK. And what I think is crazy about that, I love the song, but it doesn't have like definable chorus. And It isn't the type of song that you would hear as a #1 song necessarily.
I think you're right. I mean, if you was to make a list of all the things that you need to have for a hit single, it doesn't really tick any of them.
Doesn't check any of the boxes.
No, so it was unexpected.
It's also the lyrics and what it's talking about. I mean, I always interpret it as you're again talking about humans and androids, and that these androids, you can't really tell if they're an android or a human. And Our Friends Electric, you can call up your friend, come play chess with you, or play, or either play games or sexual fantasies or whatever it is.
That's what they were. The reason they all look the same. I remember when I was a kid, one of my friends, his dad used to get porn sent in the post, and it always come in a brown envelope. Your neighbours didn't know what it was. So it's kind of that idea, really. These things would come to your door because nobody went out anymore. You know, in this world, nobody goes out anymore. Everyone's very insular. But you still sort of care what your neighbours think. So you don't want them to know what you got turning up at your door. So these machines that will come will do whatever you want, really. It's just, it's that idea of privacy. You don't want people to know what's going on. So that was really the thinking behind the whole song. It just happens to be that one is a prostitute, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a chess player, or it could be anything you like, really. Someone to cook your dinner, whatever.
Chess, dinner, video games, whatever it is. The lyric where you say, I hate to ask, but our friend's electric, only mine's broken down and I've got no one to love.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about a lyric, I always have to read it because either I have to sing it or I can't think of it unless I'm singing it.
I'm the same.
That's a really intriguing lyric because it's asking that question. Friends electric are you real? Are you an android? Where did that come from?
The blurring of the two things. When machines become self-aware, what are they exactly? It stops being a machine. It stops being something that you can use in the same way that you would use a car with no regard whatsoever. It changes. And the thing about just having no one to love was really just trying to squeeze in a reference as the fact that these people in that time are alone. They don't have relationships. They don't go out. They don't interact with people anymore. They've all become insular in their own little boxes. And the only way they interact with the world at all is via these machines that come and give them the things that they think they need.
And it hurts and I'm lonely. And I should never have tried.
Hey, leave us a comment about this incredible synth pioneer, Gary Numan, and his masterpiece cars. What are your memories of the music video and the song, the first time you heard it? Why do you think he never had another hit? Let's have a great discussion. If you dig our content, make sure to subscribe below so you never miss out on our videos. We'd love to have you as part of this community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.